in an area that was just over 2 years ago was nothing much more than an area of reeds and rushes, and we've had this amazing transformation. So David, how did you start on this project?
Well, our starting point was the fact that we had a paddock that was very wet, and it had been very difficult to manage, and we realised with all the change that we needed to look ahead. And one of our first stops was with you, Lindsay, because we came and sought advice about who can we talk to about what we can do with this paddock. And so that was our starting point, coming to the council, and you pointed us in the direction of a consultant at that stage.
The council was very fortunate in that it had John Preece as its biodiversity consultant, providing advice to landowners.
Well, John was excellent because he'd worked for DOC and he knew the district very well, and he'd done some work on our estuary, which is very close to us, and so he knew this area fantastically, but he told us a lot about our property that we didn't know, and that was really the starting point for making decisions about it. He gave us a whole knowledge base about where we were and why it was important.
I think he also gave you a vision of the future, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I mean, his vision is fantastic for us, but part of what he identified from the past was that this paddock was wet because it was part of a 300-hectare swamp, the Seaton Valley Swamp, which until the early settlers started cutting it down was almost entirely covered with a kahikatea forest, all of which has totally disappeared now. And that was really a whole learning curve for us. We never knew that, and we've since talked with the local Maori community and learned a lot about why there was a kahikatea forest here, how it was valuable for the birds and the other wildlife that was here that the Maori used for their source of food, and that set us on train with a whole lot of thinking about the future.
But in the last 2 years you've come a long way towards realising the first part of that, just looking around here.
Yes, we have, and I think it was having that information to start with. We realised that we're actually in a very strategic position because we're alongside an existing park, and that our property, if added to the park or associated with the park, can help provide a massive forest or the sort of variety of fauna that makes it attractive for a range of birds, and that was really part of John's vision. He suggested that on these two properties we could recreate the three forest types of the Moutere district, and that we could have a park that was sort of an iconic park that showed what the natural forests were here, and which have now largely disappeared. Well, over the past 2 years we've had intensive planting. We've now got more than 5,000 trees here, and we're now at a stage where we've got 2/3 coverage of the 1-hectare site, and we're planting some of the more important species. Most of the 5,000 trees are sort of pioneer species, or the carex grasses along the pond, which are a bit easier to grow. Now we're planting kahikatea, rimu, the beech trees that are over there, and we're also planting some very special plants which DOC's asked us to plant because they're rare and endangered, and one of those is a narrow-leafed mairi tree. We've got some rare reeds and some rare grasses, and then we're also going to be getting some other more rare trees that, if we don't succeed with them, are very likely to disappear because they've been so successfully cut out of all our lowland areas around the Nelson district. There are other pockets of this very fertile soil that it's suitable to do a regeneration process like this. It's a case of having the information and then doing it. My hot tip to anybody else who's going into this sort of biodiversity project would be first seek expert advice to give you the information about your project, and then try and find a group like the biodiversity group that we've got here in Nelson, where you can exchange information and talk to other people involved.